Right, so it's been a while. I've not bothered buying any bikes because nothing cheap's ever coming up for sale at the minute, so I just sort of left it. But finally, winter's coming, weather's getting colder, people are getting rid of project bikes, and I found this one, dirt cheap, local. So popped to Enterprise, picked up a little van for a day, straight over to the guy's house, paid in the money, grabbed it, took it away. It's a nice little bike. I remember I nearly had an Isca to start with before I got the Venom. Found it cheap, needed repairs, needed a few bodywork things. Sent my brother to pick it up with a van, and I never saw it again. He took a liking to it, and so did my nephew, and I said, well, you pay for it, you keep it, it's yours, you do the work. And I picked up a Venom instead. So when this Isca came up, I thought, oh, I've got to have a go. So the story of this one, it's previous cat in, doesn't matter, the repairs have been done, but it started misbehaving. So it won't, well, it will idle when it's cold, it will start when it's cold. When it warms up, it struggles to run. The throttle response is awful. If you stall it while it's hot, you'll never get it started again till it cools down. He's been through loads of sensors. He's done the engine temperature sensor, he's done the lambda sensor, he's done, I don't know, he rattled on a long list. He said the only one he hasn't done yet is the throttle position sensor. But I don't know about that. I'm still gonna have a look at it. I've had a little play around. When it was warm and refusing to start, a little squirt of car cleaner down the air intake and it fired into life and it sounded a lot more healthy. So it sounds like it's getting fuel starvation, and it's now the point of getting to the bottom of where the fuel starvation is. Is the fuel pump no good? Is the fuel filter inside the tank blocked up? Is the throttle position sensor bad? Thus it's not giving enough fuel because it thinks the throttle position's still closed even though you've got the throttle pulled. And the butterfly's manual, so the butterfly's open but it's saying there's only half throttle when you full throttle and it's giving less fuel. So there's a few bits to look at, but looking at the bike, I think I got a bargain. So it had an MOT failure, so it's got brand spanking new front tyre. As you can see, it's still got all the little flashings on it. There's a few little minor things I want to do. The bodywork looks kind of dull, so it's going to get a polish up. There's a lot of flaky paint, a bit of rust, but do you know what? If I was buying this for myself, I'd be jumping up and down as a bargain buy. But let's see what happens with it. So we'll see it start. Let's flick it on. Hear the fuel pump prime. Long time, but primed. And then she should just. So it's also rattly as hell. I think the tappets need adjusting, so I'll do a valve adjustment on it. And while the fuel tank's off, I can look at the fuel pump, see the fuel pump's working properly, and see if the sock on the sides of the fuel pump is clear or not. And the best bit is it came with a full tank of fuel, so that's going to be heavy. Oh, but it's got a full tank of fuel, so that's money in the bank. Either way, let's get started. The first thing we're going to do, let's plug it in the OBD reader and find out if there's any faults. Now, the OBD reader, just under the seat here, throw that away, put it down in the pile jump. And there's a little OBD plug in here with some of this wiring. Okay, so we plug OBD in and stick the ignition on and let that fire up. Now, for me to be able to do this, I need the phone back, so you're going to have to stand by. Right, so let's get Talk Check open. It's connecting to the Bluetooth receiver. Now it's trying to connect to the actual vehicle. Yeah, I've not set nothing up on this, so I don't bother with that. And we'll know it's connected as soon as the revs start showing. There we go. So no data because the engine's off. So you go into fault codes, scan for fault codes. I bet we get a nice long list. Air intake temperature sensor circuit, high input air temperature circuit. Okay. What we got? Powertrain manifold. So the map sensors saying it's bad. Crankshaft position sensor and idle control system.
Okay, so we'll get a little screenshot of that. It's still scanning, but we'll just see if anything else comes up. And we're there, 4 fault codes. So air and intake air temperature circuit high input. Okay, and the map sensor high input. Crankshaft position sensor circuit A, God knows, well, probably because the engine's not running, and idle control system probably because the engine's not running. But that one there, we can hit web lookup, have a look. Yeah, go away. We don't need to watch live. Wiring open circuit, short to positive, earth wire defective, air intake temperature sensor. So that way we can check. So it's saying high input, so it's saying it could be a short circuit on the sensor. So we'll have a look at that. Let's go back to there, and we can clear. So we'll clear the fault codes. Yeah, we'll clear the fault codes. Thank you very much. All right. And time to refresh. Right, so she's saying no fault codes in ECU. So let's start her back up. Oh, she didn't want to go. Doesn't want to run. Oh, she doesn't want to run, does she? Oh, you pain. There we go. No fault codes in ECU. Right, so that's the scanning done. So we can just unplug him, throw it back into the box. Right. So there's a few little bits in here I want to get done anyway. I mean, that's an interesting looking short circuit right there, waiting to happen. But we'll put some actual shielded ones on there for now. I might just pop the halfers and pick up a fuse connector, proper one. Broken relay connector. Who knows what that relay's for? I don't know. I'll figure it out later. So that needs attaching somewhere. That's just the plug for the... Oh, state of that. You see in there? That's the alarm plug, not being used. All these are supposed to work as a wire tidy. That's broken. And there's the air intake. You see how that's just bumming around in there. All this stuff rattling around in front of it. I don't even know where that's supposed to be, if it's supposed to be hooked anywhere or if it just hangs around like that. Silly. Battery's down there, so it's going to be fun to try and get on charge later. But you can see there's a little bit of rust in places. That's not lined up properly. That needs moving around a spline. There's a bolt missing, so the exhaust rattles around. So we'll get a bolt in there. I can't believe this thing's got a kickstart. Either way, but you can see that brand new exhaust system, brand new lambda sensor, a few new sensors on there. One of these in here somewhere. We're going to find an air intake temperature sensor and a throttle position sensor. That's the idle control sensor. That's the fuel injector. That I have no idea. That looks like the lambda sensor wiring loom. But I think we'll pull the plug out. Let's have a look at the plug, see the state of that. It's not a terrible colour. There you can see that. But a bit of white on the end.
first things first, I'll re-gap the plug, give it a quick clean, throw that back in. But let's do, for the sake of it, compression test. Ignition on, full throttle. So that is direly low. You see that? There we go. That is dire low. Now that could be valve clearances. So we'll retest after we've done the valve clearances. I think it should be a little bit higher, you know. So we'll do valve clearances. Saves taking that all apart. So under here, we have a few more gubbins to look at. I don't know what you can see well here, but I have no idea what these 3 yellow wires are that have all been cut off. They join to something and go down here for this yellow loom, but they come, looks like cut out the reg, cross-wired together and down into the stator. He did say he put a new stator on there, so that would make sense apart from that mess. And I don't think even that's the right stator for the bike, but it works. And that's also coming out of the stator down in there. So all that needs a bit of a tidy up. Got a random bolt there that looks like it's out of the broken panel. Let's take this thing. Oh well, so you can go hi. There we go. Either way, we're good to go. We all done our homework. Remember how this is done, because I've shown you before. Crack it. Got a little bit less than venom for space, but you can still do it. That doesn't matter. Right, so that's on. They're readjusted. Junk here. That's an idle control valve. I can recognise one of them when I see one. And you've got the fuel injector with the fuel line. That has got to be a throttle position sensor, surely, and I'd reckon that there is a manifold absolute pressure sensor. That's the map sensor right there. And if we unplug the thing just so we can see what we're looking at, we've got one Phillips screw, and out that comes, and we can have a look. Because that is, yeah, throttle position. I'll get that lined up and back on, but if that's adjustable, I'm going to leave that a bit loose. Now, next up, hook it back in so I don't forget I've unplugged you. Map sensor. That looks like a map sensor. Look at that. And it's got old bloody seals knackered. That's right. We'll put some greasy around you and get you in nicely. But that looks like one of the new parts he's probably fitted. That's okay then. I reckon you are okay. Okay, so after yesterday, obviously figured out a few things that I didn't know and I did know, and what I was pointing out was wrong and what was right. I figured it all out, but that doesn't matter. So since last night, all I've done is some of those dodgy wiring connections I've, soldered, heat shrunk, made them all a bit better. They weren't affecting it, I don't think, but it now is a bit better. So now I'm going to have a look at the fuel pump to see if the fuel pump's blocked, held up, whatever it is. but whilst I'm in there as well, I thought I need to drain the tank, so it's sitting upside down on a bucket just so I can pop these 10 mils off and have a look. Hopefully this will show us what's wrong. Held up on a cable tie there. Okay. There we have one fuel pump. It's buzzing away. But that's not what we wanted to see. The fuel sock looks clean. Obviously I know the fuel pump works because it buzzes. I was hoping to see that all full of gunk, but she's not. So, rather than go further than we need with that, just going to pop it back in. Why is that? Oh, hang on. So why is that monkeyed back together? So obviously those cable ties do not look right. Those clips are together right. Those clips together are not. So what's going on there then? I mean, if it works, it works. It's not a bodge if it works, right? But why is that not together the correct way? Let's pull that apart. And that comes out. Ah, look at that. Badly seated seal. I'm still losing petrol all over the floor. Fuel sock. One fuel pump. Okay. So here's our fuel pump, and the fuel pump seal is sitting in there bad. Stuck but not sitting right. Come on, baby. Right. See how distorted that is? That means that wasn't fitting right. We could have been just running on low pressure. Right, we'll get that on there. I feel better about that already. That gives me good feelings. Right, let's put that back in the tank somehow. Lovely jubbly sounds a pound. Right, that is all back together. We have no fuel in it because it's all in that bucket. So there we have it. So since I last saw anything, I've only messed about with a few little bits. So the wiring's been repaired, fuel tank's on, the engine mount's back on, and we saw what we saw in the fuel tank with the fuel pump, so that's all back together. Now it's whether it starts or not. I've had the battery on charge, so we're going to give this a little go. Alright, now the problems were here. Have a look at the dashboard. Right the dashboard.
when we rev it and hold it, see, that's a problem. Right, so we still have some more investigating to do that we are stepping. So we've still got a few more problems to figure out. I still think it's the throttle position sensor, but we need to get some live data, and I can only do that on the phone. So we're going to do some live data recording and just see if holding the throttle like that while it's doing that, what's going on. So I'll be back to you in a bit. So that's pretty much it, right? So we took the fuel tank off. I think that was the main issue. When the fuel pump came out, the seal from around the fuel pump wasn't seated on the end of the cap of the fuel pump and into the slot, and then it wasn't clamped together properly. Done that, cleaned the throttle position sensor, but that doesn't seem to be causing any problems anymore. And the main issue was when it was hot, it wouldn't restart. Well, it restarts now, so I don't know what that is. So until I've had it out on the road maybe for a little bit, there's no way of knowing if it's fixed or not. But as far as I can tell, since I tried it with the graph, I can't get it to actually show me. Everything about this is fine. It starts, it stops, it runs, it rides. So I'm betting, because it seemed like fuel starvation more than a throttle issue, because on the graph when I was holding the throttle at position and the revs were going everywhere, it was showing a perfect line for the throttle position. So the throttle position wasn't reading wrong. If the throttle position sensor was doing this while I was still, it'd be a faulty, but that was holding out nice and true. So I think it was fuel starvation caused by the fuel pump not being sealed properly, and it was blowing fuel the wrong way. And when I put it back together the first time and restarted, it was struggling, but there's probably a bit of air still in the system, so that's bled through now. The only jobs I've got left to do, I need a clutch switch, because this one I've tried bodging it and getting it cleaned up, and I've made it sort of work, but when it's bolted on there it doesn't work anymore, so I'm just going to get a new one. They're only a few pounds. And what was the other thing I needed to do? I can't really remember, but clutch switch is the main one. A bolt for down there, I need to just order a bolt, and that's pretty much it. I think the only last thing to do is change the lock set because the key's a bit bent. But yeah, good to go. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video. Hopefully any information I've given you is of any use. What, I haven't got a clue, I'm probably an idiot, but enjoy the video, and I'll see you next time.